Okay, today's concept that we're looking at is a play called popcorn. Talked about a little bit in some of my teaching tapes already the last few weeks, but popcorn. Okay, so what it means is we're going to have somebody run a pop. Okay, so a pop is basically a 5-yard hook route. Okay, we're going to have somebody run a flat route, and then the corn is for somebody running a corner. Okay, so we're going to have a pop, a flat, and a corner on this route. Now, I'm not a huge fan of popcorn in most situations because if you're playing against zone teams, really the corner route is really for a man team. So if you're playing against any corner off teams, zone teams, there's always going to be a guy sitting back there for the corner in most situations. And so I'm not as big a fan of the popcorn concept, even though it's run all over the league. It's one of the most popular concepts in the league. Very seldom see it thrown to the corner route because there's usually a guy back there. Every once in a while you get man. Now I will say as you get down closer to the red zone and closer to the goal line, so tight red zone, I like this a little bit better because you're going to get more man down here, first of all. And secondly, instead of that outside deep defender playing back in the red zone, he usually likes to play attacking forward, right? They usually like to sit at the goal line and not give a lot of ground because they don't want to give up an easy throw in front of them for the touchdown. They know they've got help with the back end line. So they're a little bit more aggressive down here. And so it's easier to sneak that corner route back behind a defender in the red zone, okay? So I'm not totally against it as we get closer to the red zone or if we know that we're getting teams that play man-to-man. But here's what I will say. I will say when I get down into the red zone, my philosophy often changes as a quarterback. So my philosophy out in the field is deep to short. Attack down the field, right? Because they've got the whole field to cover. I'm trying to get the big plays, and then I settle for the checkdowns. When I get down to the red zone, I have what I call a red zone theory. My red zone theory is I'm going to flip that thought process. I'm less thinking about attacking down the field down here, and I'm thinking more about attacking underneath, like throwing it and getting completions and forcing the defense to tackle instead of having to throw it into the end zone. I want sure completions. I don't want to put the ball in harm's way because windows close and there's not as much space down here in the red zone. And then I want to force the defense to cover. So it's important to understand that theory and what we're looking at when we get down here, okay? So what happens here for Dallas is they're going to play, and it looks kind of like a combination between zone and man because it looks like this guy's playing man, yet everybody else is kind of playing zone. Nobody runs with this corner route right here, so it's hard to say exactly what the coverage is. But what I know is that when you got pressed here, so I'm not really thinking that's an option down here, right? A hook route against press coverage is not great. So I'm really thinking on this play, it's either going to be the flat or the corner, okay? And again, remember my theory. My theory is be sure, right? Take the underneath one, make them tackle unless you're sure you've got something over the top, okay? So we're going to watch this play out, and you're going to see the guy playing the corner does a great job of falling back and making the interception here on this play, okay? So couple things. First thing I want you guys to realize, again, always got to understand the situational type football, is that normally CeeDee Lamb, who's running the corner route here, normally what I would tell him out in the field is I need you to get to at least 10 yards. And then oftentimes with fast guys in the NFL, I like my corner routes to push to 12 yards and then take your angle, which is usually like a 45-degree angle from there. Okay, so when we're out in the field and we can get 10 to 12 yards, it really puts this outside defender in much more of a bind, right? He's got a lot more ground to cover because I can throw it up and out, right? I can throw it deeper than the back end line here. Right now, I'm really only giving myself, we're on the 7-yard line, I'm giving myself 17 yards to fit this in. Okay, so let's watch that part of it. CeeDee Lamb, right? He's already going to the corner at right there. He's already taken off to the corner at this particular point. So we run the 7-yard line. He's at the 2. He's running about 5 yards deep and running to the corner, right? So we're not using the entirety of the space, but we don't have the ability to take this higher angle. If we were out in the field and he could take this higher angle, this is an easy pitch and catch for Dak because he got the right response that he wanted from this defender. Okay, so again, follow me here. The right response from this defender, if we're out in the field, is he comes down a little bit, but he simply plays flat to the line of scrimmage, right? He plays flat to the line of scrimmage. See where his hips are? His hips are facing the line of scrimmage. So he turns and makes this play here, but he's not going to get much deeper than this, right? If this ball is thrown to the back end line, or if we're out in the field and this ball is thrown 30 yards down the field, that corner never gets this ball. But we have to understand where it's different in the red zone. And in the red zone, it's different because that guy doesn't have as much ground to cover, because we can't stretch the field as much as we would like to stretch the field. So here's what I want you to understand. And again, this is the next level things that you have to do as a quarterback in the National Football League. The next level is, this is my read, okay? I'm getting jammed at the point, so I'm looking at the widest guy on this particular play. He's the only guy that can cover the flat on this play, is that guy, okay? And look at the depth of that guy. So if I come out, what I really need to see on this defender is I need to see this defender, if I'm down in the red zone, coming this direction. He has got to be attacking the flat because he's already 7 yards away from him. He's got to be attacking the flat downhill if I'm going to throw the corner. If he wants to simply play flat at 6 or 7 yards away, I have to use my red zone theory and complete the flat. Throw it to the flat right here and let him go one-on-one and force them to tackle right here. All right? That to me is what you have to look at down here, and you have to come out with that mindset. Is I'm throwing it underneath, I'm throwing it underneath, I'm throwing it underneath. Now, I do understand that this guy takes one step up before he flattens. And that's the other part of reading defenses. I know it happens fast down here, but you have to keep your eyes on the defender you're reading until it's time to throw. If you take your eyes off that defender too soon and you're not quite ready to throw yet, this is exactly what they do. They bait you into thinking, oh, he's covering the flat because he's moving lateral to the flat. And then he falls back and he covers the corner. So we've got to be able to see. You know, I always talk about defenders. You have to force them to cover width and depth. Width and depth. So forcing a defender to cover depth on a flat means he's got to come downhill. He's got to shorten the space between him and the guy that's going to catch the football. Otherwise, he's only covering width, which he does here. All he does is cover width. He never shortens that distance between himself and the flat defender, and thus the reason he's able to make this play, and thus the reason that it becomes an interception instead of completing the ball to the flat and letting that guy go one-on-one with that corner out in space and expect your guy to win.